Okay? Benjamin Netanyahu has been openly parading at times how much influence he has over American Congress, both internally in Israel, as a major factor as to why he must keep being in power. Okay? And also all around the region as well. Oh, you fuck with us? America's got our back. I have complete control over you as Congress. This has always been the case. And at certain points throughout time, maybe it was an exaggeration, but post Trump 1, it was no longer an exaggeration. It was reality. Reality that you can see with your own two fucking eyes. Okay? That's it. That's it. How else do you think a foreign nation state can just bomb whoever the fuck they want, including humanitarian aid workers that are seeking to deliver humanitarian aid during a genocide off the coast of Malta, off the coast of Tunisia? It is ridiculous. That is where we're at. But make no mistake, there is some good news here. Microsoft has blocked Israel's use of its technology in mass surveillance of Palestinians. They were using Azure Cloud, and this is due to the brilliant work conducted by Plus 972 magazine. It's also because of drop site news and people that just never let up. Okay? People that never gave up and they continued their advocacy. It's because of everyone that kept pushing. Now you are going to see more companies, hopefully, behave in a similar manner, especially after the UN decision, especially after the UN investigation that proved that Israel is conclusively proved that Israel is conducting a genocide, and all of the additional pressures that happened as a long-standing part of this process with all these people that are committed to the truth. January 23rd, Dropsite News published an investigation into Microsoft complicity in the Gaza genocide and partnered with The Guardian and 972, sharing the documents we had obtained. Subsequent reporting continued to show the extent of the complicity. Today, The Guardian reports that Microsoft is now blocking the IDF from using its tech for mass surveillance of Palestinians. This is why Dropsite is so hated, and it's also a major victory for dissident Microsoft workers who have been protesting internally intensely. Finally, a decent little how it started, how it's going. That's right. Make no mistake, you have also played a role in this. You've also played a role in this by letting your voices be heard. You played a role in this by donating to Dropsite. BDS played a role in this as well. All of the brave workers at Microsoft internally that were causing a ruckus, some of which they got fucking fired, as a matter of fact. This kind of action does have the capacity to make changes. And little by little, these kinds of things, these kinds of specks of dust inevitably create problems, long-standing problems in the cog of this genocidal machine, okay? You might think it's irrelevant. You might think it's worthless. You might think that no one is hearing you. But your voice matters. If it didn't, they wouldn't try to fucking stop you from speaking. It is that simple, okay? That's it. This is also why I don't immediately fucking go, oh, 972 magazine, well, they're liberal Zionists or whatever. They're also participating in Jewish exceptionalism or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? Big change only comes after little steps. Steps that you are taking in the right direction that you could never even imagine getting to this degree. Okay? And I hope that little by little, as Microsoft has led the way, when there is more discontent in other companies that are also working alongside the Israeli state's genocidal actions, you will see more and more companies also dropping Israel in the same way, making it harder for them to literally do a genocide on the ground. Now you got the flotilla that has grown in numbers this time around, where you have Embargoes taking place, Israeli media admitting that the embargoes are working. The reality is the result of three factors, Israel Hayom says. First, the intense war that has lasted 2 years, during which IDF consumed an exceptional amount of material, ammunition, and spare parts, far beyond its original planning. Second, embargoes imposed by various countries on the sale of arms and parts to Israel, part of their criticism of the ongoing campaign in Gaza. And third, the relatively long time needed to open alternative production lines in Israel's defense industries. This is why whenever people understandably feel hopeless, I kept saying, it does not matter. You have to maintain revolutionary optimism. These things take time. And let me tell you something. This is a lot faster than I thought this change would come. Okay? It is even faster than I imagined it. Make no mistake. Yet another moment to maintain optimism here. Revolutionary optimism. Incredible work. Yes, Microsoft has now blocked Israel's usage. I believe Denmark also divested from Israel to the tune of $25 billion, if I'm not mistaken. And UEFA members are in favor of banning Israel from European football next week, as America is desperately trying to lobby UEFA. European soccer body UEFA moves towards vote to suspend Israel. America's lobbying UEFA to make sure that this does not happen. Fucking assholes. Corrupt charlatans. Here's another great example of this. For the first time, Israeli Prime Minister's plane extends flight route to U.S., avoiding European airspace. Think about that. Think about that. All of this stuff seems marginal, but they all play a role in dismantling oppressive systems that people take for granted and have taken for granted forever. Okay? Understand this. Spain also did a full-blown weapons embargo. I don't know why that chatter was saying you got PSO'd, but it seems like that full-blown weapons embargo is in effect. This is exactly how it took place with the apartheid in South Africa, okay? I'm telling you right now, this is how it worked. The tremendous amount of pressure against the pariah state that was apartheid South Africa made it so that its own in-group, the white South Africans, realized that there is no way to sustain the apartheid structure if they wanted to be a normal part of the world for the rest of the world. Did South Africa have nukes? Yes, they did, actually. Once they realized that black people were going to take over the government, they dismantled the nuclear program, but they did. They did have nukes. Yes. This kind of pressure also matters in the sense that even it causes even Trump to say stuff like, it's been enough, it's time to stop now. As Nelson Mandela said, it always seems impossible until it's not. Something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing. Israel is also clearly panicking about the Samud flotilla, by the way. Israel's panicking about the Samud flotilla. Americans don't realize how much of a crisis this is because their media isn't telling them about it. But Israel is worried that if the flotilla succeeds, a dam will burst. All pressure should be on the government to aid the flotilla. The global Samud flotilla is demonstrating the efficacy of tactical nonviolence and forcing a political crisis over the Gaza genocide. They are putting Israel on the back foot and forcing states to act. These brave comrades deserve our full attention, solidarity, and support. Israel is desperately saying, you have to divert to Ashdod. You have to divert to an Israeli port. If you want the humanitarian aid to go in, you have to give it to us. The Italian government also had to respond to internal pressure from the comrades within the Italian labor union movement. The Italian labor union movement immediately facilitated a general strike. And because of the mass discontent growing in Italy, Giorgia Meloni, who wants nothing to do with this process whatsoever, who couldn't even get herself to do the symbolic state recognition of Palestine, turned around and sent a naval vessel to, quote unquote, defend the Samud flotilla. But they had a different plan. While they said initially that they would defend the Samud flotilla, it turns out that they were actually sending it so they could redirect the Samud flotilla. They tried to redirect it to an Israeli port, and then they said they wanted to redirect it to a port in Cyprus. They said no. The Gaza humanitarian flotilla said no. Spain has already sent their own naval vessel as well to offer protective cover. The reality is, it becomes a lot harder for Israel to take action such as this one if you have numerous European state actors that are now sending their own fucking ships. This is no longer a USS Liberty style incident because it's not happening at a time when no one is aware of the way that Israel operates. A USS Liberty style incident today would cause the entire Israeli government to collapse. I don't even think America would be able to defend Israel after that if they were to take fire against European naval vessels in the same way that they did a long time ago against a U.S. naval vessel, USS Liberty, to be precise. There is 0% chance that the world would stand idly by. No matter how pessimistic I am, I think the populations of these European countries would not allow that to happen. It would be chaos. They would destroy democracy. All off with the Palestinian president, Mahmoud Abbas, who was not allowed to enter the United States.
Israel is carrying out is not merely an aggression. It is a war crime.
Yeah, you might be wondering why there's nobody there. It's because America refused to let him into the United States of America for this UN General Assembly.
And a crime against humanity.
Kept out, but not silenced. The Trump administration may have denied Palestinians the right to speak at this UN podium. But today, the voice of President Mahmoud Abbas still rang out across the hall. And his message was stark.
It will be recorded in history books as one of the most horrific chapters of humanitarian tragedy in the 20th and 21st centuries.
Even as he spoke, another Gazan community coming to terms with another tragedy.
Yes, Mahmoud Abbas is not great. He is a part of the Israeli security apparatus. And even then, the Israeli government, in its endless arrogance, still considers him to be a threat, despite the fact that he is quite literally a collaborator. It is crazy. Palestinian Authority is directly antagonistic to Hamas. There is an internal power struggle amongst the Palestinian National Conference. Palestinian Authority is also deeply unpopular. Palestinian Authority works in unison with the Israeli security forces. It is a Palestinian face on Israeli ethnic cleansing campaigns. They will go and identify Palestinian militias in the West Bank that have some semblance of a standing military or some organization that is resisting against the illegal Israeli occupation, and they will arrest them and they will apprehend them and they will allow the Israeli state to torture them. Okay? This is the reason why Palestinians fucking hate Abbas. Palestinians that are living in the West Bank, Palestinians that live in Gaza, fucking hate him. The PA, the Palestinian Authority, for the reasons that I just mentioned, is seen as the second least popular entity in the region, after Israel. Of course, everyone's number one op is Israel. Number two op for the Palestinians is Abbas himself. And even then, the Israeli state still shits on him and calls him a fucking terrorist, regardless of the fact that he has played ball with the Israeli security apparatus. That's what's so crazy about it. This is a big part of the reason why a lot of people are frustrated about the Palestinian state recognition, because the Palestinian state recognition comes with handing over the entirety of the new formed or the former existing state of Palestine to a deeply unpopular authority such as the Palestinian Authority. This would cause so much chaos. Sources close to Netanyahu tell the outlet that Israel will likely have to consent to the PA controlling at least some of the Strip after the war, something the premier has insisted he will not allow to happen. Like, the ambitions that these guys have. What they fail to consider is that the reason why October 7 happened is because no one ever cared or considered the opinion of the Palestinians. And what they are trying to do still is reassert some kind of sovereignty over the Palestinians by doing just that. And even that is seen as a last-ditch effort. Even that is seen as something that Israel finds to be unacceptable. Think about how fucking insane that is. Think about how fucking insane that is. And yet even that is seen as a bridge too far by the American state and the Israeli state, and that's why they're doing the symbolic fuck you to Mahmoud Abbas.
This family mourning the death of a little boy in Zuwaydah, one of 8 children killed in a single Israeli strike. Part of a now daily drumbeat that has pushed the death toll beyond 65,000. Israel claims this is about rooting out Hamas, but Abbas said his Palestinian Authority renounced violence.
We reject what Hamas carried out on the 7th of October because these actions do not represent the Palestinian people. Hamas will not have a role to play in governance. Hamas will have to hand over their weapons. We reiterate that we do not want an armed state.
But what power does Abbas, who governs parts of the West Bank and is deeply unpopular, have to oust Hamas in Gaza? His promise that they will de-arm on a day that a Hamas sniper killed an Israeli soldier. In New York, another swipe at the UN, described by so many this week as toothless.
More than 1,000 resolutions at the United Nations. Not one of them was implemented.
But still hope.
Wait, is it Ron Dermer? I don't know. Hold on. Let me see. No. Oh, yeah, it is. It is Ron Dermer. Yes, it is. Israeli politician and diplomat serving as the Minister of Strategic Affairs since 2002 and head of the negotiations of the hostage release since February 2025. That right there, sitting behind Bibi Netanyahu, is Ron Dermer. Israeli diplomat, Israeli politician, Ron Dermer. Not the head of Mossad in the past. Anyway, listen. Israel has been presenting this narrative forever. Okay. Oh, just one more toppling of a regime that is not directly servile to our interests, and everything will fall in line. Everything in the region will fall in line. Just one more fucking regime. This is, at the time, former Israeli Prime Minister from 1996 to 1999, Benjamin Netanyahu, making the argument to the U.S. Congress to go to war with Iraq, talking about how it is going to have positive reverberations around the entire region, all the way up to Iran.
Mr. Potter, you have some evidence to that effect.
I was asked the same question in 1986. I had written a book in which I had said that the way to deal with terrorist regimes, well, with terror, was to deal with the terrorist regimes. And the way to deal with the terrorist regimes, among other things, was to apply military force against them.
The way we did in Afghanistan.
The way, for example, I want to answer your question.
Well, I guess I'm running out of time, so I quickly was trying to get there. We've done, I think, what you proposed in Afghanistan, yet I haven't seen that sort of neighborhood effect.
Well, I think there's been an enormous effect. The effect was, we were told that there would be a contrary effect. First of all, people said that there would be tens of thousands of people streaming into Afghanistan, zealots who would be outraged by America's action, and this would produce a counter-reaction in the Arab world.
But I think you're not saying that when you take an action like we did in Afghanistan, we're going to see all the other countries just fold.
No, what we saw is something else. First of all, we saw everybody streaming out of Afghanistan. The second thing we saw is all the Arab countries and many Muslim countries trying to side with America, trying to...
This is post 9/11, post-Afghan invasion, pre-Iraq invasion. So I think it's in 2002. Okay? I believe there's a congressional session taking place in 2002 before America invaded Iraq. Here is Benjamin Netanyahu advocating vociferously to get America to invade Iraq, saying it'll be fucking awesome. And even in that, he admits that he's been saying this since 1986, which is true. Talking about how these guys have nuclear weapons, for example. Iraq was invaded in 2003 after this congressional hearing. There may not have been a CIA agent as well. So, you've been saying WASPs a lot more recently. Can you explain the term? WASPs, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. I also jokingly refer to Tucker Carlson as a WASP supremacist.
Against Iraq immediately after the attacks on 9/11. Now, I'm not saying, I don't know more than that. So you can draw your own conclusions, and I'm not suggesting, that they staged 9/11 for that purpose, but I am saying unequivocally they used 9/11 for that purpose. We know that. That's not a conspiracy theory. And it's appalling. It's disgusting.
And of course, you know as well as anybody that well before 9/11, there were all sorts of growing calls and the usual suspects within Washington to try and demand that we engage in regime change in Iraq and remove Saddam Hussein. That was, the sort of great aspiration of neocons, not just in Washington, but also in Israel. That's and then 9/11 immediately got seized on for that. All right, let me move to all of the issues surrounding Charlie Kirk. And before I get to the...
may I say one last thing?
Sure.
May I say one last thing that I think is important? So the question about 9/11, the reason people have debated it for 25 years is the question of foreknowledge. Do people know this was coming? And then it's a question of, did they know it and allow it unintentionally or intentionally, or did they stage it? I can't answer those questions. But we conclusively answered the larger question, which is, oh, yeah, there was foreknowledge of it. There's no question about it. CIA knew the hijackers were here. They knew they were terrorists, and they were here to commit acts of terror against the United States. And critically, and this is the fact that somehow blew my mind the most, people bet in the public financial markets, the equity markets, against the airlines involved in 9/11 and the banks in the buildings that were taken down on 9/11. And they bet big, they shorted them, and they made a lot of money. This has been sort of known. What I didn't know is that the U.S. government found the identities of the people who did that, and they withheld them. And to this day, they've never been revealed. So this is a publicly traded series of trades and in public markets, and we can't know who made those trades. Whoever made those trades clearly knew 9/11 was coming, and the government has protected the identity of those people for 24 years.
Is Tucker vindicating you? I mean, he will never vindicate me. Foreknowledge aspect of this is correct, but the idea that they would know exactly what the target is and then make trade decisions, that's a little that's a claim that requires extraordinary evidence. I wouldn't say that is I wouldn't entertain that part of the narrative. As far as the CIA knowing that there were known assets or known agents that had previously worked with known CIA collaborators and assets or people that were heavily monitored, that part is correct. The rest of it is speculation, making extraordinary claims without having extraordinary evidence. However, the one part about this argument that I do agree with is that, yes, of course, Israel fucking tilted the scales in their favor.
If you take
Israel has always taken Israel's always played a formative role in America's grand design in the region. This is just reality. Anyone that denies that, anyone that says that's not correct is fucking insane. Okay? It's completely insane. That is Israel's role. That's Israel's role in America's ambition for the region. Israel's role is precisely this. Now, to the extent of which Israel took over the driver's seat, this is Trump 1. After Barack Obama took the initiative against Israel in the most modest terms possible with JCPOA, Israel absolutely did everything in their fucking power. Everything in their fucking power to make sure that never happens again. Okay? And it's not like a secret either. They very clearly did this with Sheldon Adelson at the time, not with Miriam Adelson. Miriam Adelson is Sheldon Adelson's wife because he died. So now it's Miriam Adelson that holds all the wealth. But they farmed Donald Trump straight up. They knew that he was malleable. They knew that he was corrupt. They knew that they could just make him do whatever the fuck they wanted by dangling money in front of him. And Donald Trump absolutely, without a shred of doubt, gave Israel basically the keys to the car, said, you are driving our foreign policy now in the region. Okay? That's it. Straight up. Here is a younger Bibi Netanyahu in front of Congress trying to do his very best to advocate for America to go to war with Iraq.
Take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberation. I think that people sitting right next door in Iran, young people, and many others will say, the time of such regimes, of such despots, is gone. There is a new age. Something new is happening.
And that Iraq, is speculation on your...
This has been... By the way, isn't that fucking... what's his face? That's the former head of Mossad, no? Or not at the time, but the one behind him. Or is that... That's a... I think that's a fucking...
to be okay with America. The application of power is the most important thing in winning the war on terrorism. If I had to say, what are the three principles of winning the war on terror? It's like, what are the three principles of real estate, the three L's, location, location, location? The three principles of winning the war on terror are the three W's, winning, winning, and winning. The more victories you amass, the easier the next victory becomes. The first victory in Afghanistan makes the second victory in Iraq that much easier. The second victory in Iraq will make the third victory that much easier too, but it may change the nature of achieving that victory. It may be possible to have implosions taking place. I don't guarantee it, Mr. Turney, but I think it makes it more likely, and therefore I think the choice...
Man, such winning has taken place, chat. What is it, like fucking $8 trillion? $8 fucking trillion, 12,000 American service members dead in the process. Man, tens of millions displaced, millions dead. A network of sometimes CIA and other times Israel-backed terror cells that are wreaking havoc in the entire region. Man, we've won so much, dude. So much. So much. Thank God. Thank God for Benjamin Netanyahu. Mission accomplished, baby. Thank fucking God. David Wamser wrote a policy paper for Benjamin Netanyahu in 1996 recommending the regime change in Iraq as an important Israeli strategic objective in its own right. even though David Wumser here says this is a lie, I was there and this is a lie. Why is it that these people get to just openly lie about what they did? Austin show. Swooner. Yeah. Is the third victory Netanyahu was talking about a potential war in Iran? Yes. I always found it peculiar how two countries that have nothing to do with 9/11, Iraq and Afghanistan, are the countries that flank Iran, Israel's premier geopolitical rival on both sides. Yeah. The point there was any country that would not play ball, because you see the countries that do play ball, right? The Gulf nations. They have instability at times, but ultimately the regimes, the administrations, the monarchies, they are always in line with U.S. interests. And now they're in line on paper as well, right? What's interesting about this, of course, is that
You take out
so much death and destruction has taken place. So much money and lives have been lost. Here's Ron Dermer, by the way, who was behind Benjamin Netanyahu, as I showed you earlier, saying the same exact fucking bullshit. We must dismantle the terror army of Hamas in Gaza, which will not only be a victory for Israel, but also for the U.S. The U.S. will show all of its allies that it sticks with them even when it's tough, and it will project American power across the region. They're saying the same old bullshit even now. Now, what's interesting about this, of course, is that while they're saying the same old bullshit, they're also simultaneously claiming that Israel's small bean, Israel have no interest, Israel has nothing to do with American affairs of this sort. I did, however, see something that is not so fun, specifically about Jewish polling in New York about sympathies with Israel right now versus sympathies with Palestine. And it fucking one-tapped my brain a little bit. It did laser me a little bit. It just feels like the only people in New York of Jewish background is like those under the age of fucking 35. It's a terrifying fucking thing that I saw. By the way, this doesn't even necessarily matter because, like, obviously, in terms of like voting for Zohran Mamdani, a lot of New York Jews who love Israel are still going, I want fast and free buses and shit, clearly. Because if this poll is consistent, if this poll is correct, it shows a terrifying percentage. In the Middle East conflict, do you side more with the Israelis or more with Palestinians? If Israelis/Palestinians, is that strongly or only somewhat? And you look at the demographics here, and it says for New Yorkers, total the total number of New Yorkers that side with the Israelis is 38%. Total number of New Yorkers that side with the Palestinians is 46%. Now, of course, those numbers are nowhere near enough where they should be. Okay? But goddamn, bro, look at this shit. They looked at they did a religious breakdown for total, Catholic, Protestant, and Jewish. For the Catholics, 44% say they strongly or somewhat sympathize with the Israelis. 42%, on the other hand, say they strongly or somewhat sympathize with the Palestinians, which is, again, shameful. For the Protestants, however, the total or the strongly or somewhat supportive of the Israelis percentage goes down to 34%. For New York Jews, it's fucking 70% to 24%, man. God damn, brother. Holy fuck. This is why so many of the anti-Zionist Jews in this community are constantly like, bro, I'm having such a fucking hard time getting this information across to my goddamn parents. Is that really surprising? It is. It really is. It's fucking nutty, dude. I thought it would be like closer to, 55 to 40 or something. You know what I mean? the amount of fucking brainwashing and the amount of like personal relationship that has been substituted for like any sort of sense of community or any sort of like religious expression that has turned into just like dick riding Israel is so fucking devastating. Nah, you were just too nice and gullible again. To be fair, this is New York City, which has the most conservative Jews. Dog, I'm gonna keep it a $1.50 with you. No, if you want to know significantly more conservative Jewish opinions, look at fucking Boca Raton, look at Florida, look at Los Angeles. No, New York Jews are way more fucking woke, dog. What are you talking about? If you want to know what the conservative Jews actually think, look at the Florida Jewish population and their voter breakdown. Younger Jews are better on Israel, but yeah, anyone over 35 is overwhelmingly pro-Israel. It's crazy. Have you been to New York, bro? I've experienced this. What do you mean? Of course I've been to New York. To be fair, my friends in New York are almost all exclusively Jewish and also way more radical than I am on Israel. So that kind of ruins my own personal anecdotal experience. So, I mean, think about my fucking friends in New York. Almost all of them are Jewish, and every single one is the most rabid anti-Zionist you've ever met. What I found to be interesting also was that the opinions amongst the Jewish population was either strongly with Israel or strongly with the Palestinians. Like in terms of somewhat, like people were just hardliners, it seems. But at this point, 70% is crazy, man. That is unsustainable. Yeah. This is also part of the reason why I said it doesn't matter ultimately, as far as like what New York Jews do as a voting bloc. I'm sure that there are some that overlook Zoran's anti-Zionist positions, but ultimately it's inconsequential. Like the notion that he has to be pro-Israel is inconsequential, as I told you over and over again. And I was right. Number one, this means that there are still plenty of New York Jews that voted for Zoran in spite of his anti-Zionist position, because it's not the number one priority for Jews, as I have said. And two, even if there were plenty of Jews that are Zionist and make it their number one reason to vote for one candidate over the other, there's still not enough people to swing the election in the opposite direction. Timestamp to your point.
Everyone was like, will you go to Jerusalem? And
what is this?
Like,
it's so weird.
The way
it's
tracked
so
wasn't that Zoran didn't win because he was speaking out against Israel. He won because people thought, he won the Jewish vote. He won because it was people were like, this is weird. Why are people talking about this?
Precisely those same people who vote for Zoran? Yeah, I think there are there Jews that make Israel their number one priority? Yes. But I have no reason to believe that the polling on that issue is also inconsistent with reality. Jews, obviously, that care about Israel, don't care about it as their number one priority. Except for Adam. Which is the reason why he didn't endorse Zoran initially. That's the truth. All I'm saying is I really hope this shit is not true, that like 70% of New York Jews are not like fucking showing still at this stage sympathies to Israel over Palestine or Palestinians. That's crazy, man. That is unsustainable. Get the fucking reality, dude. Holy shit. It was shocking. I think the poll is bunk. I don't know if the poll is bunk. Not it's irrelevant, as I said. Why didn't they poll Muslims? I don't know. Maybe not like a significant enough population percentage. I don't know. Sympathy with the state doesn't mean sympathize. Dog, come on. In the Middle East conflict, do you side more with the Israelis or more with the Palestinians? That's the question. And the answers you can choose are strongly with the Israelis. I strongly side with the Israelis more, or I somewhat side with the Israelis more, or somewhat side with the Palestinians more, or strongly side with the Palestinians more. Like, that's very obvious, a very obvious question. Why I said the sample set seems so whack? Yeah. What is this? Is it possible some Jewish voters may not consider? No. That's not what's going on. I don't think. There's mad Jews in this fucking community. They don't vote atheist when at the census. They vote Jewish. I say I'm Muslim when asked. That's not how that works. No Jewish person is gonna be like, I'm an atheist. Senior Hamas official was interviewed by CNN. Holy shit. Oh, God.
Nearly 2 years after Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th.
I'm going to keep it a $1.50. This is my least favorite Hamas official, for the record. Like, obviously, there's internal discontent amongst... That sounds so funny when I say it. But I think out of all of the Hamas leadership roles, this guy is one of the worst. Straight up. I could do a tier list. The ones that Jeremy talks to are the best. I think was it Bassam is my bias for sure. The one who was like a chemist. Why? I mean, he's very smart. He's very intelligent. These are all the Politburo people, for the record. So I'm not. No, why do you dislike this one? Because he gets clipped out of context a lot. And he is that's why. Listen, I can't speak on Abu Obaida, okay? But anyway, this is the guy who... What up, Will?
7th, Gaza has paid a massive price. The devastation rivaled only by the suffering of its people. Israel has killed more than 65,000 Palestinians, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry. Hundreds of thousands are displaced and homeless. Israeli attacks are
This
only
is the dude, I think he's in like...
Do you accept any responsibility for triggering so much death and destruction?
The history did not be...
Yeah, Ghazi Hamad. He's the one who went fucking viral after October 7 because he was trying to say like what Israel has done to us justifies a million October 7s to talk about how fucking violent Israel's behavior has been pre-October 7. But then everyone, Memory TV went with the fucking false framing on it and then they blasted into oblivion to be like, oh my God, he wants to do a million October 7s. Yeah. Just make no mistake. When you got CNN interviewing a Hamas official, just remember there's probably a reason for it, okay? Yo, is this dude Catholic, Ash Wednesday? No, he has that. I didn't know this as well, but that's a marker of being pious, okay? It's because he prays so much that his forehead is like, he has a forehead scar from praying.
began on October 7. We spent 78 years under the occupation, under the humiliation, under oppression, under repression, under killing, under displacement. Now why a world just focus on October 7?
Ghazi Hamad is a senior Hamas official, sitting for his first U.S. TV interview in months.
But before October 7th, Israel had never unleashed this level of death and destruction on Gaza before. How can you look at me with a straight face and tell me that you accept no responsibility whatsoever for what has happened in the 2 years since?
What is the option is left for the Palestinians to do? First time the Palestinians have...
Dude, CNN is so shameless, bro. Come on, dog. Like, come on, man. I mean, this shit was funny when they were doing it, like a year ago, okay? Is crazy when like everyone in the international community has recognized that these dudes are experiencing a fucking genocide, and you're still like, I know Israel's doing a genocide, but why don't you actually fucking take responsibility over the genocide that Israel is doing to your people, to your family members, okay, to all of your loved ones? Why don't you recognize that? Why don't you take responsibility for the genocide that Israel is doing? Like, we used to joke, they'll ask Hamas to condemn Hamas. Like, they have. But it's crazy to do it right now still. CNN sits down with Hamas. Do you condemn Hamas? Lamau? I mean, I've joked about this before. They always do that. Ghazi is going to own this fucking dweeb, though. Thankfully, they picked the worst guy to try and rage bait. I mean, yeah, like I said, he's not my favorite, okay? But I'm sure he'll do all right.
Sacrifice in this Israeli-Palestinian conflict?
What gives you the right to decide that Palestinian women and children should be sacrificed on the altar of your resistance?
No.
Dog, who's killing them? Who's killing them? Who's killing them? You're still being like, yo, Israel wouldn't have done the genocide if it wasn't for you. Look at you. You went and did it. This is unironically the same shit that I guess at the time Western media would have pulled if they knew the extent of the Holocaust, because of how much they have a tendency to just like defend power. Like, this is like pulling a Jewish partisan and being like, don't you think your behavior is responsible for the death camps? Why won't you admit that you were engaging in moral degeneracy? Why won't you admit that you were trying to destroy the Western supremacist standards set by the good-natured Aryan folk? Don't you feel like you have a share of the blame here? Israel is not a tsunami, man. Israel is not an earthquake. It's not a fucking volcano. What do you mean sacrifice them at the altar of resistance? Like as though there is no way to stop it. You already know. What were you wearing, I say? Fucking nuts. God, it's just, please, man, please, just have one fucking guy, please. Like, just get an Arab dude, man. I'm sorry. I'm done with this shit, okay? No, don't get a fucking dude from the Tel Aviv office or the Jerusalem office to fucking interview this guy, okay? Get a Christian. Get a fucking get like a white lady, okay? Get what's the blonde woman's name? Clarissa Ward to do it. She'd do a better fucking job. I'm sorry. You spend way too much fucking time in Jerusalem, dude. Get the fuck out of here. God damn, dude. What is this? What is this? Like, this is supposed to be a fucking dialogue. You're over here being like, rah. 20 fucking 3 months into a genocide, and you're like, well, don't you feel like you're responsible? Look what you made us do. Why? Why is it that the dude interviewing the Hamas guy has to be the fucking Jerusalem correspondent? Why? You don't got no fucking unbiased reporters? Yeah, I'm saying it, by the way. Unbiased. Okay? Unbiased. It goes both ways, motherfuckers. What is this shit? It's the same principle with the fucking New York Times, dude. They're like, they got hella dudes working at the editorial staff whose children are currently doing a fucking genocide, and that's not some kind of bias, right? Kids who are in the fucking IDF and their parents are at the New York Times, as though that's not going to somehow play a role in their opinion when they're covering it. Meanwhile, they stopped every fucking Arab from taking place in the Middle Eastern correspondence because they thought there might be sympathies. Sympathies like what? Recognizing the humanity of the slain population? Wow. How great. To be fair, anyone employed by CNN would have conducted the interview the same way. Yeah, but this motherfucker's dabbing on him. It's ridiculous. That's what's so frustrating about it. Yes, you're right that mainstream media is collectively going to be deep-throating Israel no matter what, as they always have. But holy fuck. You don't even get anything out of this conversation if you're just going to spend the entire time being like, don't you think Hamas is responsible for Israel's genocide? That is the question here. Israel's doing a genocide. Don't you think Hamas is responsible for Israel doing a genocide? What kind of fucking question is this?
All the time we are sacrificing, we are fighting.
But I am asking you about the civilian deaths in Gaza and what gives you the right to decide it's a price worth paying. That child can die. It's okay.
What makes Israel? What gives Israel the right? What gives Israel the fucking right? Yes, I think Clarissa Ward would have been better than this fucking asshole. I'm going to be honest. What gives Israel the right? Who's killing them? It's not Hamas that's killing them. It's Israel killing them. What the fuck? Israel's starving them. The fuck do you mean? Is there ever a point where Israel does something and it's Israel's fault, or is it always someone else? Like, I cannot believe it. Genocide is the crime of all crimes. The international community in unison have collectively come to the understanding that Israel is conducting a genocide. Okay? You are in the minority at this point. Not only are you oblivious to the reality, you are deliberately obtuse. You are a genocide denier. Okay? You are a genocide denier. You are a Nazi. You're getting Hasbara trolled us on. I'm sorry. It's fucking ridiculous. It is so ridiculous, dude. What the hell are we doing? Yeah, I know. He got his ass beat by fucking settlers. Remember when he did the West Bank coverage? It was this guy, Jeremy Diamond. That's what I said is the CNN Jerusalem correspondent. Jeremy Diamond, a journalist at CNN's Jerusalem Bureau, posted a picture of his social media on Monday showing the aftermath of someone smashing the back window of his vehicle. When he was chilling in the West Bank, he certainly did not appreciate the way that Israeli society broadly was treating him. There's no accountability, said the father of the killed Palestinian American Kamal Musallet, who flew from the U.S. to bury his son. We demand the United States government do something about it. Jesus Christ. I didn't forget about that. I know. We've covered his coverage on this broadcast. It's just crazy.
Because it's in order to fulfill our resistance.
As Hamas, we are fighting for the interests of the people. We don't want our people to be killed. Don't put the problem on the shoulder of Hamas. No, I think
Again, sir, when I speak with Israeli officials, I press them about what they are doing in Gaza. When I'm speaking with Hamas officials, I press them for...
Okay, but Israel is the one killing the Palestinians. It's not Hamas. That makes no fucking sense. Like, he's literally saying, why do you want emancipation for your people when Israel will literally kill every single Palestinian as they are currently doing? How dare you? That's the question. Frame it appropriately. How ridiculous. Yeah, can you imagine CNN talking to any Ukrainian military official and being like, why do you keep allowing your children to be in the way of Russian rockets? Okay? And the civilian casualties in Ukraine are horrifying, but not even a magnitude similar to the civilian death count in Gaza, because one is a genocide, okay? This doesn't mean what Russia is doing is just. It, of course, is not. It is unimaginably unjust. It's incredibly cruel. It's incredibly violent. But there are differences here between a genocide and state violence. Both are unjust. Both are a crime. One is the crime of all crimes. This is why the genocide designation was very important, which is precisely why so many people didn't want to say it. %90 civilians. 90%. Unless you somehow magically believe that the IDF is also Hamas, this is directly in the hands of Israel.
Your responsibility. But some Palestinians have had enough. Our message to Hamas is stop gambling with us, this man says. You are disconnected from reality, especially since the Hamas leadership is outside of Gaza.
I want to send a message to Hamas. We talk to people, talk by people. Stop the or we are die here.
But Hamad doesn't seem interested in hearing those voices.
Ask those people what their take on Israel is, and you'll get a very different attitude. Of course they're fucking frustrated. Of course they're done. What the fuck do you mean? Hamas recognizes that as well. They literally have been like, we'll do whatever you want. We'll do a fucking Palestinian National Committee. We will no longer control the Gaza Strip. Israel goes, well, doesn't matter. We're going to kill another 10,000 Palestinian children. This is what's been going on over and over again. Okay? Those people are understandably frustrated with Hamas as well. Of course they are. Hamas is the governing party here. It makes total fucking sense. If all you have known is bloodshed for the past 2 fucking years and you're like, enough is enough, please do anything to put an end to it. If you think that Hamas is not doing that, I don't know what to fucking tell you. Look at the reality. Look at the objective reality. They don't have to be perfect, and they're certainly not, okay? How would Hamas end it? Nobody seems to know. Great question. If you ask Israel, it was release the hostages. Okay, they've been trying to do that since October 10, 2023. Israel's like, release the hostages and we'll end it, except we won't. Because every time you try to release the hostages, we say we're going to fucking kill you dead after we receive all the hostages. Israel's also killed numerous negotiators and tried to kill the rest of the negotiating party in fucking Doha. Like, that was a month ago. What are we talking about? Oh, these guys, they're just not serious about peace. Like, what the fuck do you mean? If you still maintain this level of smoke, I don't think it was Hamad, but I remember one of their senior leaders did say many civilians would die, but it was a price worth paying. Of course, they blame, I think it was him. Of course, they blame, the blame for killing them is on Israel, but I can understand why someone in Gaza would look at that and say, fuck those guys in Qatar, they're not here with us. Yes. This, of course, still betrays the way that people see Yahya Sinwar, who is more responsible for October 7th than any number of these people. And Yahya Sinwar died in Gaza fighting till his very last breath. So obviously, when these guys are saying, when Palestinians understandably are frustrated with the Hamas Politburo, who are not in Gaza, even though their families are, and their families have been fucking slaughtered by Israel as well, for the record, okay? These guys are not even the fucking responsible party for October 7th. It's the militant wing. And Israel has killed all of the military leaders of Hamas, almost all of them. Israel has also simultaneously killed the fucking principal negotiators like Ismail Haniyeh. But ultimately, understand that the person who's asking this question, right? The person who's asking this question knows better. He's not directly connected, or rather, he shouldn't be directly connected to the incidents that he is covering as a journalist. If you're truly unbiased, you can't ask a question like that. This is not unbiased journalism that seeks to arrive at some sort of truth. This is pure propaganda. Yes, you can rewind Twitch streams in real time now.
I know. I have seen.
This is not it. There's more.
I have seen this video.
Sir,
yes.
There is more.
I know people are suffering. There are some people blame Hamas.
Why will you not listen to the voices of Palestinian people in Gaza?
Look. Yeah, I know. This is, but
only subscribers apparently can rewind. So there you go. Another beautiful reason to subscribe to the Piker Broadcasting Service, baby. Or Twitch Turbo, I guess. That's right. Subscribe to the Piker Broadcasting Service and you can rewind. Do you accept any responsibility for the innocent Polish civilians who are dying because you started an uprising in the Warsaw Ghetto? Yeah, that's the question here. Okay, that's damn unimaginable amounts of subscriptions. Throwing bagels at the wall. Let's go. It's rewind time, baby, for all of those who got gifted subs. Rewind for all.
look, this is not the whole story.
These people who want Hamas to surrender, lay down its weapons, and leave the Gaza Strip.
I think no one asked Hamas to surrender. We will never surrender. These people under abnormal circumstances, we put him under target and killing and massacre. What do you expect for people to say?
Hamad is eager to tout.
Yeah, he's saying that, like, yeah, they're experiencing a genocide. Of course they want it to end no matter what. It's understandable. Also, yeah, he's not interviewing him. He's fucking debating him, which is so silly. Jesus Christ, dude. Ghazi Hamad is an interesting guy. He has a friendly back channel with Gershon Baskin, an Israeli peace activist.
What he calls the, quote, benefits of October 7th, in which Hamas killed nearly 1,200 people and kidnapped more than 250 others. He says it led to growing international support for the Palestinian cause.
What is the benefit of October 7 now? Now, when the award now, if you look to the General Assembly yesterday, when about 194 people opened their eyes and looked to the atrocity, to brutality of Israel, and all of them, they condemned Israel. We waited for this moment for 77 years. I think this is a golden moment for the world to change the history. I think that now the world is a change. The history is a change now.
In your view, 65,000 deaths is worth it in order to achieve what you've achieved?
Look, I know the price is so high, but I'm asking again, what is the option?
It's worth
what
it.
What is the option left to the Palestinians? You know what? We waited for a peaceful process, for a peaceful means since 1993, since Oslo Agreement, till now.
The prospects for peace seem as far away as ever. 2 weeks after Israel tried to kill Hamad and other senior Hamas officials not far from where we sat.
Yeah, dude, exactly. Why didn't you bring that up in the beginning, dude? Perhaps that is an important part of the consideration here. Like, think about that. Think about that. He's like, Israel tried to kill this man.
With the Jewish people, I think that's very possible. But they got to change the curriculum of their textbooks that currently incite violence. The culture needs to change.
But you're not helping the culture if you turn their home, which is Gaza, into literally a pile of rubble.
Well, by that standard, then the Jewish people ought to be the most radicalized on earth, because it was October the 7th.
They're Nazis. And they were Nazis before October 7. And they became like a new version, like a super Nazi after October 7. They were Nazis that were perfectly fine with like a slow burn version of ethnic displacement, ethnic cleansing, and ethnic supremacy. Post October 7, they were like, okay, final solution time. That's it. To be clear, it's Israelis. This is Monster Said Jews. Yes, obviously. He is always going to. People who defend Israel will always talk about Israel as the Jewish state. Okay? They are the ones who are like, nope, this is all Jews. This is all Jews. This is all Jews. This is, I promise you, this is for Judaism. This is for Jews. Jews love this shit.
Low-rung guy. He said he started at a caboose, and now he's the chairman of the Union Pacific. But he's a great guy. But he said, sir, don't lose Chicago. The way he said it, I said, boy, it really hit me. You know, here's a man that knows all the cities. The Union Pacific, I guess, is our largest railroad, and he knows all the cities. He's been doing it for 45 years, and he said, sir, don't lose Chicago. And the way he said that meant a lot to me, and we're going to go into Chicago very soon. We're going to take care of Memphis. We're going to take care of Memphis. You can't walk a block without getting shot. I can't believe how normalized
this is, dude. I
take
really
care of that
can't.
One, and just like we did
Like,
Washington,
it is wild. He's just talking about deploying the military to major American metropolitan cities, while simultaneously saying that anyone and everyone that organizes protests against this kind of action, for example, is literally a terrorist and will be, like, will have their assets seized, will have their lives ruined, will be prosecuted. And like, because of the way that the media operates now, in an effort to just simply be in the room, they just have to suck his dick throughout this entire sequence of events. What the hell?
I'm not going to comment on whether there is or is not a pending investigation, but everything's on the table right now.
I don't think anybody has to ask, because if you look at Soros, he's at the top of every. In fact, sometimes they say, could he be involved in this many things? But he's in every story that I read. Stories that I read keep talking about Soros, and so, you know, I guess he'd be a likely candidate. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, President.
Thank you.
Guys.
Bro, the dude is like 750, by the way. This man does not read. I know. If only he could read. Yeah, reporter, there was another shooting at an ICE facility. Detainees were killed. Who do you hold responsible for the uptake of left-wing violence? The radical left is causing the problem. It's going to get worse. And ultimately, it's going to go here.
There was another shooting at an ICE facility in Texas yesterday. Detainees were killed. The FBI director posted on social media bullets that were engraved with the message anti-ICE. Right. He just posted another thing on social media saying they recovered a handwritten note from the subject that read, hopefully this will give ICE agents real terror to think, is there a sniper with AP rounds on that roof? Who do you hold responsible for the uptick in left-wing violence in the country?
Radical left rhetoric. The radical left is causing the problem. They're out of control. They're saying things, and they're really dumb people. I mean, I look at Crockett. I look at some of these people. They're very low IQ people, actually. But the radical left is causing this problem, not the right, the radical left. And it's going to get worse, and ultimately it's going to go back on them. I mean, bad things happen when they play these games. And I'll give you a little clue. The right is a lot tougher than the left. But the right's not doing this. They're not doing it, and they better not get them energized, because it won't be good for the left. And I don't want to see that happen either. I'm the president of all the people. But the radical left is causing this. The radical left Democrats are causing this problem, and it gets worse. It gets worse, and it'll be a point where other people won't take it anymore, and that will not be good for the radical.
He's literally saying, like, there will be decentralized violence from the right against everyone and anyone they consider to be a part of the radical left. Fantastic stuff, by the way. Very cool. Also, speaking of the radical right, I am officially joining the Democratic Party as of today. In celebration of their wonderful work, I have now adopted a hairstyle that matches their policy, says Alex Jones, sporting a Hitler mustache. Nick Lutzko retweets and says, growing a Hitler mustache to own the libs. That's right. It's strange because, you know, it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck. You don't have to also put a fucking duck bill on, you know what I mean? We know you're a duck, brother. In any case, there's a bunch of other stuff that I wanted to talk about, but must see. Alex Jones conducts Becoming Hitler's Social Experiment. The failed Nazi leader has infiltrated InfoWars and taken over the airwaves to spread white supremacist hate speech. Now, of course, what will that be different? Like, what difference
Obviously,
would this have from his regular news broadcast? What difference would this have from his regular ass news broadcast? Anyway, speaking of existing Adolf Hitler, aside from Alex Jones, let's talk about Benjamin Netanyahu, because Tucker Carlson made a statement that, is making shockwaves on the system update with Glenn Greenwald. Now, of course, the statement that he made is pretty obvious, pretty basic stuff for those who have at least a little bit of competence. He said that Netanyahu has been telling multiple people, I control the United States and I control Donald Trump. Let's take a look at the clip first, and then I'll show you the 700 other examples where Benjamin Netanyahu has directly done so. Let's take a look.
I'm not guessing about this because I talked to people he said it to, is running around the Middle East, his region, and his own country and telling people point blank, just stating it, I control the United States. I control Donald Trump. He's saying that. And again, I'm not guessing at all. That's a fact. And I dare them to say that's not true because it is true and they know it's true.
Yeah. So people have been running around making it seem as though that's not the case. And it's been really funny. It's been really funny to see people being like, "Dog, that's crazy, that's silly, that's dumb. How dare you say Benjamin Netanyahu has any sort of outsized influence over whatever events take place in the United States," which I thought was really funny. So here's some of his many moments. Here's the lol nothing matters one. This guy says, Israel had, in fact, lobbied strenuously against the Iraq war, predicting that it would weaken the constraints of the real Middle Eastern danger, Iran. What an incredible thing to say. Tucker Carlson also did this like 9/11 thing as well. He's doing a little 9/11 documentary. This probably pertains to that as well. He says, America started preparing for war with Iraq immediately after September 11th at the behest of a foreign government, Israel. Let's take a look at what his full statement was, and then we'll look at the response.
Buildings were still burning. There were people in Washington discussing and pushing a war against Iraq, which I don't think any smart person.
Also, not only is that aspect of it correct, but it was far before 9/11 that they had interest in attacking Iraq. Okay. Also, interesting for Tucker Carlson to say this, considering that he was a champion of the Iraq war for a very long time. But, let's continue.
That any connection to 9/11, there was a lot of reason to believe that having Saddam in power was probably good for the United States as a counterbalance against Iran, as the protector of, millions of Christians. There are a lot of reasons that Saddam wasn't the worst, and certainly much better than what we got after. But nevertheless, at the behest of a foreign government, Israel, the United States began preparing for war.
There's also the thing that a lot of people do that I personally despise, which is taking away the responsibility from American capital owners. Like, it must not have been our big, beautiful WASPs and their own personal ambition, their own personal interest in like extracting the natural resources of Iraq, for example, by any means necessary, that played a formative role in this grand design. And it must have been just Israel. Israel has the capacity to tilt the scales. And Israel certainly quite openly has done so in broad daylight, time and time again. That clip that I'm going to show you in the aftermath of this is Benjamin Netanyahu, a younger Benjamin Netanyahu, making the convincing case as to why America should go to war with Iraq and how this would have an incredible domino effect in the region. At the time, I don't believe he was the prime minister, but it doesn't really matter. He has been a very formative, very influential figure in American foreign policy, specifically in the Middle Eastern region. Also,
no matter how much our wounds bleed.
Yeah, you want to turn. The reason why people hate him in the West Bank is because of what he wants to do to Gaza. And even that, given the Israeli attitude, given the attitude from Zionists in Israel right now to any sort of Palestinian recognition, is seen as a bridge too far. They think they can get away with full-blown occupation and permanent annexation of the West Bank. But this is the reason why a lot of people are frustrated with the symbolic conditional state recognition of Palestine. Because they want it to be a defenseless, non-sovereign, symbolic state that Israel can dominate as they see fit. Okay? How can you be a state without any sovereignty? It means nothing.
And no matter how long this suffering lasts, it will not break our will to live and survive. The dawn of freedom will emerge, and the flag of Palestine will fly high in our...
The only people that I know that are like Abbas dick riders are just like American Atlantic Council adjacent think tank people. Like even amongst like the FDD, I don't think is a fan because he's Palestinian and that's Benjamin Netanyahu's own think tank, right? But like there are very few people, like very few unironically just like living, breathing, existing Palestinians that are like, yeah, that's my guy. It's unsustainable. It's ridiculous. Let Marwan Barghouti out. Allow there to be a democratic process. If you're going to do a real two-state, don't know how the fuck that's going to work with 700,000 settlers in occupied West Bank, for the record, that has designed a non-contiguous Palestinian state on top of the existing 1967 boundaries for the fucking Palestinian state. Totally ridiculous shit. But yeah, release Marwan Barghouti, allow there to be a real democratic process, let the Palestinian people decide who they think should lead their sovereign state. No, they can't have weapons shit either. Of course, even states that are neighbors to Israel that had some semblance of sovereignty have been totally fucking gutted and eviscerated, obviously, for not completely being servile to Israel's interests. So clearly, you kind of understand why Israel would never allow this to happen regardless, right? Look no further than Iraq. Look no further than what they're trying to do in Iran. Look at Lebanon.
skies.
But emerge how? That has been the question that has dominated this 80th UN General Assembly. As leader,
Je déclare que la France reconnaît aujourd'hui l'État de Palestine.
After leader spoke up for Palestine, including President Erdogan of Turkey. So can he persuade Donald Trump to change tack?
Is President Trump doing enough to stop the war in Gaza? What more can be done?
Erdogan rolling on from the UN to the White House, where the US president continues to reject the recognition of Palestinian statehood.
President Trump, sir.
But today, Donald Trump expressed hope of progress.
I had a great meeting with the leaders of that area, of that region, generally speaking, the Middle East. We had a great meeting the other day at UNGA, as you know, and I think we're close to getting some kind of a deal done. Yeah, we want to get the hostages back. I have to get the hostages back.
It was at that meeting that Trump apparently reassured Arab leaders that he would not allow Israel to annex the West Bank, a move some believed Benjamin Netanyahu could announce tomorrow.
Dog, why in the ever-loving fuck would anybody believe America in the absence of hard material changes? If you are a part of the Arab leadership that met with Donald Trump, first of all, you've probably been bombed by Israel, or at least been threatened by Israel. Like, the only countries that haven't been bombed or threatened by Israel, I guess at this point, is like fucking UAE and Saudi Arabia. You know? And that all happened under the watchful gaze of the United States of America. You know that shit. So even if you don't give a fuck about Palestine, as many of these corrupt tyrants don't care about Palestine, you should at least have your own safety in mind, you know? Or have they bombed Egypt? In the past, yes, but this round they did kill Egyptian border guards. So yeah, they did. When people say you act like they have some sort of sovereignty over this decision, you're just doing a lot of defense for these guys. Once again, we are civilians. We are American citizens. And it's clear that we don't have a democratic process. Does this stop us from protesting? No. Because we understand that united, we have power. Okay? Through the act of discontent, we have a way to get the administration to, at the very least, recalculate the unlimited loyalty that they've demonstrated to Israel. So if we as citizens can show this moral courage to ask for the simplest thing, which is to stop this fucking genocide, how are you going to sit there and be like, well, these nation state leaders have no power in this process? Motherfucker, you and I don't have process. That hasn't stopped us from saying our piece. That hasn't stopped us from putting our bodies out there. And you're telling me that these dudes... Mini fridge open again? Fuck. You guys suck. Man, you aren't bombed for protesting. They bleed for protesting by the U.S. and Israel. Come on, dude. That is disrespectful to those, to the people that live in these countries that are protesting. You are literally finding some semblance, some reason for these guys with a lot more power than you to actually continue with their inaction. And you're doing that at a time. You're doing that at a fucking time when, what, Spain is actually taking action. What's up? Those are vassal states too. How come they found it in their hearts to do something? Even Italy, with a tremendous amount of pressure from the Italian population, has at least symbolically decided to do something that is to protect the flotilla that has Italian citizens in it. And those guys aren't sitting on a stockpile of the most significant natural resource on the planet.
The Israeli Prime Minister has just arrived in New York, where he is expected to deliver a fiery speech to a UN General Assembly in which his country is perhaps feeling more isolated than ever before.
And Anushka joins me now. Anushka, is this another case of Trump listening to the last person he spoke to?
Well, I think there is some of that, but I also think that Donald Trump has a tricky diplomatic balancing act here. His long-term ambition, remember, has been to bring Gulf states and Israel together. But ever since that Qatar strike, tensions have been running incredibly high. Now, there had been a suggestion that if Benjamin Netanyahu...
There's something so funny about people being like, dude, don't you see what happened to Yemen and Lebanon? They bombed their capital. Yeah, dog. My point is, don't you see what happened to Qatar? They bombed their capital too. So it's clear that it doesn't even fucking matter if they're taking action or not. What matters is if Israel has the ambition. Also, speaking of Yemen, they just fucking bombed a lot. Just yesterday, they injured like 6 people. They haven't stopped, man.
Who had taken the step to announce annexation of the West Bank, the US would stand by. It now looks like that is not the case. As well as reassuring those Arab leaders, Donald Trump told Emmanuel Macron, the French president, that that was a red line for him. Macron himself said it. He's also told the Israelis directly not to go there. That doesn't mean it's off the table for Netanyahu. He apparently will raise it with Donald Trump, and before he got on a plane to come here to New York, he made clear he's going to give a blistering speech tomorrow in which he denounces those who have recognised Palestinian statehood, including the UK.
Okay, so we look forward to that speech tomorrow. And by the way, our news podcast, Trump World, that we do together, is going to be available already on Spotify and YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, keep being annoying, dog. Israel, keep being annoying, keep being arrogant. See how far that gets you.
All right, let's get more now from our foreign affairs correspondent, Sikander Kamani, who's in Tel Aviv. Sikander.
Well, Matt, look at those images from Anushka's report. Another horrific day on the ground in Gaza, as is every day. But there does seem to be some cautious hope that is growing around the possibility of a ceasefire following that meeting between President Trump and those Arab and Muslim leaders. One Arab diplomat that I've been speaking to says that there is now a growing momentum. Steve Witkoff, Trump's special envoy, who I should say does have somewhat of a history of overstating things, said that he's confident of a breakthrough in the coming days. He referred to a 21-point plan for peace. That's understood to envisage a permanent end to the war in Gaza. The
dude, any moment now, man. Any moment now.
Of all the Israeli hostages, followed by the deployment of regional peacekeeping troops, and then the creation of a new government in Gaza that does not include Hamas, but does have some role for the Palestinian Authority of President Mahmoud Abbas. Now, in the past, Prime Minister Netanyahu has been very explicit in ruling out any kind of involvement for the PA in future governance of Gaza. It's understood Netanyahu will be discussing that plan with Trump on Monday. Of course, we've been in these kind of similar positions before where hopes are raised only to be dashed. Israel's latest and most recent key demand is the complete disarmament of Hamas, something that the group have until now refused to do. But so many, of course, in the region, across the world, hoping this time the negotiations can lead to some results.
Well, I don't think it's something that we have to sell. It's simply a matter that the president's priority right now is making sure that all the hostages get out, that the war in Gaza ends, and that there's some stabilization.
I hate this animal. Hayvan. Hayvan ola hayvan. God, I fucking hate this guy so much, bro. He is so insane. He's such a fucking dog. He is such a fucking servile little pig. An utter lunatic, man. Just a straight up cultist monster who makes no, like, he just has no reason to fucking shelter you from the truth. He's like, I suck Israel's cock. I am here to suck penis, okay? I'm here to suck Israel's penis and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of bubble gum. Give me that fucking dick. I'm gonna gobble it. That's all he says. The other day, he's like, Israel is like my wife. If you talk shit at a dinner party about my wife, well, I'm going to kick you out. Israel is comprised of Jews, God's chosen people. We have to usher in a new era so that the rapture can happen. I love God's chosen people. Israel, number one. Maybe America, number two, if Israel lets us. Like, he is quite literally the example that, like, Nazis point to when they say, like, these guys think goys are cattle or whatever the fuck. Like, he literally is like, I am cattle for you, sir. Straight up. I will wash your fucking shoes with my tongue. So glad he's the guy who is the ambassador, you know? Oh, what a fucking embarrassment. What a national embarrassment.
It's brought to this area. He doesn't really want to see anything that could disrupt that.
Because if Israel were to annex the West Bank...
He's an Israel ambassador serving in American embassy. Yeah, no, I mean, he's Israel number one, America not even number two, unless Israel says America number two. That's his fucking attitude. Here, just listen to him, bro. Just listen to this monster.
Then that would be the end of the Abraham Accords, wouldn't it?
It certainly wouldn't be helpful to it if it happened all at once. But even Israel's decision that I have heard has never been to take all of Judea and Samaria.
Why do you call it Judea and Samaria?
Well, it's a historic name. To me, West Bank is a nebulous term that it doesn't really depict what we're talking about geographically. It's a very modern term. It's not something that has historic roots and values.
But I guess what I'm trying to get at is using the Old Testament as a guide to current geopolitics is not very helpful.
I think it's very helpful because it gives it context historically.
What is the future of the Palestinian people in your book?
If they wanted to be peaceful coexistence,